Going on to the Wednesday race, covering our week-long reflections. This is going to be split into a three-part series because it is quite a lot to try and explain the Wednesday weekend up into one video. We're going to try and split it up into two different videos just so that we're not covering one long video of about 18 to 20 minutes, because there is quite a lot of information and a lot of things that did end up happening in the Wednesday Donnington Grand Prix session for the Formula A World Championship Series. Links will be down in the description for more information. But starting here at the final practice session leading up to qualifying, we had a few people show up a bit late, one of them being NearFear, showing up about 15 to 20 minutes before the end of the race session to do his running for race strategy, which didn't end up being conclusive in the first session. We had No Not Really coming to the top of the timing boards along with Rip Chief Jedi, who I believe did top the timing boards for the first practice session, but there wasn't a whole heap of data recorded for that specific part of the race evening. And as we move on to qualifying, the gaps did get a little bit bigger as well as a little bit smaller. We had No Not Really on pole position, along with Rip Chief Jedi, who only qualified about a tenth or two behind him. We had Static Energy qualified in a fairly good P3, considering the top five was all within the 106 range, so about a second, less than a second, covered the top five grid spots, with Traffic in Bullet rounding off the top five. Big O failing to qualify once again for the Donnington Grand Prix. And we have, right after that, we have NearFear qualifying his first qualifying session outside of the top five so far this season. Stocky directly behind him on the grid. We have Worthy in the 8th position, Flying Spark in the 10th position, Ozpada in the 9th position. So that roughly puts Big O about 12th for the race start. But a few drivers did happen to put in some running for the first half of the qualifying session. I think those that come to mind are NearFear and Traffic, who ended up doing some tire running for the first half of qualifying, which was about a 15-minute long run for both of them. I believe Near was on the medium tire. I think Traffic was on the softs, but I could be wrong. Update on that may come within the next video. They're both doing long runs in qualifying and then rounding it off toward the end with actual hot laps, in which NearFear did kind of mess up the first banker lap that he went on. He had a few lockups going into the S's, as well as the Melbourne hairpin of turn 10 going on to Goddard's, and then the start-finish straight, which is the Wheatcoff straight, according to my Donnington Track map over here. And on his second run, he had a little too much fuel, which he did end up going faster toward the end of the session, but it was already too late to set another lap time, so unfortunate for him. And there was, I believe, a few things starting to appear on the surface coming toward the end of qualifying as well, with people setting really quick laps and pushing on the absolute limit of the grip of the rear tires, as well as the fronts going through sectors 1 and 2. Particularly, I believe, one of the most challenging corners on the circuit for the drivers that we saw on some of the onboards in the pit garage was the lineup into McLean's, as well as the out of the S's and into the Melbourne Hairpin and coming down through Goddard's. Some of the trickiest braking zones, I'd say, of the season, as going up to the S's, the drivers are carrying quite a bit of speed coming from Coppice about third gear, going down Starkey's straight in 7th, DRS and Kerr's open, and then they have short window with the brake to close the DRS, brake in a straight line, try and get most of the aggressive braking done as quickly as possible, and then transition into a left-right chicane in about 3rd or 4th gear, which I think translates roughly to about 90 miles an hour. And then go down into the Melbourne Hairpin to do all of that straight line braking again and make sure you don't overcook it too much, or you could lose the rear end on the entry. And I believe we had Stocky as well as Evil Monkey and Worthy go off coming through the S's on some of their laps. And I think No Not Really had a few lockups going down into the Melbourne Hairpin, as well as Goddard's going back up the hill, trying to make sure they match the speed perfectly to go on to the start-finish straight, because getting it wrong can net you a lot of time lost coming down the long start-finish straight going on to the turn 1 of Red Gate. So there's a pretty tricky track to get right for the qualifying session. Some drivers nailing it relatively quickly, while some others did happen to struggle just a little bit in the early phases of the qualifying session. This track also seems to be relatively hard on the brakes, as some cars have reported brake temperatures of excess of 1,800 degrees, as well as 2,000 in some cases, just in the free practice sessions and qualifying, which leads me to believe that brake degradation will be a factor for the race. However, it is yet to be seen. As for another update, the channel does have a new condenser microphone from Audio-Technica. It is the ATR 2500. Got it over by Mass Drop. The deal has unfortunately closed, but I definitely recommend this microphone as well as Mass Drop, the site. You can go check them out. It's the site I personally use for finding all of my tech deals and things to get for my recording set up at home if I need anything. But that's what we have so far on qualifying, and I'll catch you guys for the full race report, which should come out on either the Saturday evening or somewhere along Sunday.